everybody. Good morning. How are you? I am Julie Murphy, and I'm the author of Awaken Your Wealth. And make sure next week we're actually going to have the launching of, I am giving out a copy of my book for free, because it is time for everyone in our world, not only in the United States here, but around the world, to awaken our personal wealth, to build our lives from the inside out, not from the outside in. And so in helping with that mission and vision that I have, I decided to give away a free copy of my book, and all you have to do is pay for your shipping. So go to my website, give me your email address, and then you'll know when that all is launching. And today we're going through Awaken Your Relationships, because that is a piece of the equation. Because if you don't awaken your relationships, half of your money will go out the door in divorce. And I have watched that happen so many times. Like, people are like, "Oh, I'm building my wealth, I'm doing it. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, where did it go? And it just slides right back out the door. So it didn't necessarily happen with credit card debt or student loan debt or car debt or whatever, but it happened in divorce, because it will slip right through our fingers. So Miss Rita here is today to help us on the relationship side of the equation. Rita, tell everybody about yourself.
Well, I help women find the confidence and the courage to leave narcissistic codependent relationships and to start healthy relationships with exciting and fun and adventurous sort of partners. So I help women understand how to control their own nervous system and how to heal themselves from the inside out.
Yep.
So that they can make the changes they need to make. They can learn, they can have the courage to stand up. They can have the confidence to stand their ground. They can say the things which are hard, but are important to hear, you know, and they can start to create a life where they're in charge instead of feeling like they're victimized and helpless. Even though many of the women I work with are really successful women, but really successful women end up in narcissistic relationships. Because why are they successful? Because they've got that passion and that drive and that ability to shut out everything, you know, and then your relationships go to hell.
Yeah, they go to hell in a handbasket. And just because you can doesn't mean that you should.
Right.
I think that's another piece for a lot of successful women that I know of, independent women that I know of. And so often we want to be all things to all people. And that's just not reality. And it's so important for us to really figure out in our worlds, like, where are we stepping into things where it's not really our passion and where our heart's really at, as opposed to us trying to fix something or, you know, or project our inner childhood traumas that, you know, for a long time, like, I didn't even realize my patterning. And there certainly is a grieving process as you start to shine the light on that grieving process and what all of that is. And
you have to let go of the person you wanted to be.
Yeah,
because I know as a kid, I grew up in a dysfunctional family just because of life, and a lot of people did. And I learned what a good family was supposed to look like by watching, you know, like the Cosby Show, or by reading trashy romance novels where, you know, a hero would come in and
steal.
Yeah, you've got Fabio on the horse on the beach, you know.
Exactly what you're talking about.
That's what I grew up thinking. And then I got into relationships and I'm like, what the hell?
I know, right? Right.
You know,
like, because it's the stuff that you're not aware of that's coming from your subconscious mind that's creating the reality of what you're choosing to interface in the world.
Yes. And so what happens is we walk into these relationships naive and blind and thinking, you know, they're supposed to look a certain way. And then reality hits you hard in the face. And you have to grieve the person that you wanted to be, which was always nice and always loving and always compassionate and always supportive. And you know, you have to grieve that person and realize that's only one part of who you are. You're also strong and confident and centered and smart and a leader.
Well, and that's why I wanted us to, like, really focus on this, that shame is really behind the root cause of so much of this. Because I know in the money world that if we don't remove the shame, blame, guilt, and judgment around the financial reality that we've created, you can never, ever, ever get to the next place. Because all that shame, blame, guilt, and judgment actually is what is pinning you down, literally, to moving forward into what your heart really wants moving forward, and from a financial perspective. And you've taught me through the years that, you know, that's absolutely true in the relationship world. So can you share with everybody, like, how does shame play a role here as the root cause to what's going on in people's relationships?
Okay. So imagine you're back as a kid and you're, you know, going along with your life, and then suddenly something unexpected happens. You know, they forget about you at school or something, you know, let's say, and you're left at school, and maybe you already don't feel very good about yourself. And to you, it's like the nail in the coffin. It's like, they really don't care about me. Mine was when I didn't have a birthday party when I was like 9. And that's when it really hit me. I said, no one's throwing me a birthday party. There's not going to be a surprise party for me, you know, when my bus pulls up to my house. That's just not going to happen. And because of that, we hold this idea that somehow we're broken. And and if we're broken and we can't be fixed, you know, and we aren't fixable and we aren't worth fixing, we've got a really strong emotional reaction to that. Shame is that overwhelming feeling of helplessness that we get when things happen to us when we were a kid.
Right.
And we keep reacting in that way to anything that reminds us of that. So every birthday for many, many years, I'd be like, I'm celebrating the whole month. I'm going to do stuff for myself. I don't care what anybody says. You know, I made a really big deal out of it. No, I don't want anything. Nobody's going to do anything. I'm going to do something for me. You know,
I had a client that actually did that for his 50th birthday. He did one thing that he wanted to do for 50 days straight.
Yes, like, exactly.
Decided this day I'm going to the movies. Anyone want to join me? This day I'm going to go to a Cubs game and have some beers. And who wants to join me? Like, for 50 days in a row. So it really is about like honoring the self in so many aspects.
Yeah. And it's the emotion of shame, that gigantic feeling that the world's going to come to an end and that nothing is worthwhile and you're helpless and scared and terrified. That's the feeling from when you were a kid, from when I didn't have my birthday party, that gets in the way of us advocating for ourselves and standing up for ourselves and doing the things that we need to do to nourish us, because we're still trapped in the emotion of being a kid, even though we're a fully functional adult who can say things and do things and have bank accounts and make money and find new relationships and get rid of. We don't see ourselves as that. We still see ourselves as that emotion, that pain and that suffering. And no one talks about, or not a lot of people talk about, how to stop reacting that way. Because even though we want to be a higher version of ourselves, we keep reacting.
Can I say, I want people to really hear this, because we so often we have the desire for it to shift, but it doesn't shift. And I want people to hear it's because it's stuck in your physiology. It is crystallized in your actual physical body. And this is why, like, use it from like a weight loss perspective, you know, like you're working out, you have this desire, you're doing the stuff, you're eating healthy, blah, blah. But when the old patterning and the old emotions are crystallized in your physical body, it is a different type of work for you to uncrystallize those emotions. I know it's probably not a word. My MBA didn't teach me that word, but
to dissolve.
Thank you. To dissolve the crystallization in your body. It's a different skill set to do that. It's a different tool to do that.
Yeah. And it's not therapy.
No, it's not the mind. It's not the mental toughness. It's not the let's plow it through. It's
not willpower.
It's not anything we've ever been taught.
Nope.
It is
not.
They
didn't know.
Anything.
They didn't know.
True. Right. It's evolution. Absolutely. And so can you share with people who are watching, like, what is it? How do we start to dissolve that crystallization that keeps the patterning stuck in place like that you've got that shame and it's deep inside of you and it comes out in your relationships and it comes out in how you deal with your money? How do we start to dissolve that crystallization?
Well, in the body, You know, if people have, let's say, fibroids in their breast or fibroids in their uterine, in their uterus, or kidney stones or gallstones, that's a physical expression of those traumas and wounds that are in your body. So when you say crystallize, in my mind, I think fibroids in the breast.
That's exactly it, right? The crystallization eventually creates disease.
Yes, exactly. Yep. Exactly. And so how do we start to reverse these fibroids? Well, yeah, the way you start reversing them is by giving yourself the things that you need that make you feel loved, and focusing on the areas of yourself in your body, especially where that pain's been stored, because the body will store it in your breasts, or it will store it in your kidneys, or it will store it in your liver or your uterus. And we can focus our attention on those parts of our bodies,
right,
and relax them and send nourishment to them,
right,
so that they heal. And the way we do that is by consistently doing things that put us in a relaxed, loving, open-minded state. Gratitude, compassion. Those are actually higher chemicals, higher nervous system and brainwave signals that promote healing in your body. Whereas conflict, brain dysregulation, tension.
More in place.
Yeah, it locks everything. That's how it gets crystallized, because we're locked down. Our nervous system is locked down. When I'm stressed out, I have somebody who makes fun of me. When I'm stressed out, I walk like this, like a robot, and my arms are away from me, because I can hardly move, because my nervous system is contracted.
Yeah.
And when it's contracted, our body doesn't heal, and it has to put all those emotions and traumas that we're ignoring someplace in our body.
Right.
And so we have to reverse it by coming back to it, loving it, getting it relaxed. It could be massage. It could be meditation and attention and golden light. It could be herbs and essential oils that help you focus on that part of your body. You know, so it's a multi-layered approach. I had a woman who had 2/3 of her liver just taken out, and she's in her 70s. She was a librarian, beautiful, wonderful Jewish woman. And I said, look, we need to layer how your liver is going to heal. So we need to look at the herbs that are going to help. We need to look at the energy work that's going to help. We're going to need to look at the meditations that help. We're going to need to look at the teas that'll help. And when you do all of them together, you only need 1% change in multiple areas of your life for your body to heal.
Our bodies are amazing.
Miracles. 1%.
We don't realize that is one of the things that really blows my mind the most about the whole coronavirus thing going on right now, is nobody's talking about just build your immune system.
Yeah.
And, you know, like I bought a bunch of the teas that are the traditional medicinal teas that are breathe easy, because it supports breathing better and bringing in more oxygen, because they've now proven that more oxygen, people are not to go on ventilators if they have this. It's actually oxygen. And so, well, if you're just drinking teas that help you breathe easier, you know, even if you're stressed out in your relationships, like breath heals so much. Our breath, you know, I've always heard like breathe into the pain, breathe into the emotions. And I remember hearing the first yoga instructor say that to me, and I'm like, oh my God, you're smoking crack. What are you talking about?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, breathe. I'm like, okay, you know, again, I'm Irish Catholic, and it's like, breathe into what? You know? And I remember thinking that way 15, 20 years ago when I was first introduced to it. But it is like, if you feel the pain in your body, or if you're feeling the emotions, what happens is you breathe into them. What it does is it unlocks them.
Yes.
And it allows you to actually then feel the feeling. So like, I'm a person where I just chalked up. I'm one of 12 children. You had to chalk up a ton of stuff in my childhood.
Oh yeah, tons of trauma.
If you processed everything that was happening with 14 people living in a 3-bedroom, you know, house.
Oh my God.
Wouldn't exist today. And so Breathing, like breathe into the pain, breathe into the emotions, and then it allows the emotions to actually be released, and then they don't crystallize.
Yeah. And that's the relaxation piece. When you take time every day to help your body relax, it goes into the rest and repair mode.
Right.
If you keep stressed out, then your body never fixes itself. So if for her liver work, you know, she's putting her hand on her liver,
right,
and then her hand on her heart, and she's spending a half hour, 45 minutes, just putting her presence there.
Mm-hmm.
And it tells the body to send resources, to send help so that it can heal faster. We're telling the universe, let's say, and the universe to me is everything that exists. We're telling the universe that we want to heal by putting our focus and attention. And physically, we will heal. Right. Not because, you know, some magic things coming from the sky, but because we're intentionally focusing our body's ability to heal on the parts of us that's been storing these traumas. But it's scary because, you know, to look at emotions is scary.
Well, and this is where it's so important to release these things because they play such a vital role in how we're interfacing in our relationships.
Yeah.
And that's the part that you're creating. Like by you not releasing the shame, the blame, the guilt, and the judgment. If you don't choose to release that, then that is how you are co-creating exactly what's showing up in your life.
Yes, because you keep
so
reacting.
Important. Yeah, it's so important for us to just recognize that it's time for that stuff to go. And that it's not serving our highest and best, because nothing will shift in your relationships unless somebody chooses to do something differently. And why can't that just be you?
Well, you know, I know the biggest problem for me for a long time was I didn't know what to do. You know, someone would roar and I'd be like, oh, you know, and I'd freak out.
Right.
And that would happen time after time after roar, 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 roar. You know, and it kept us stuck in that pattern. And it's like, okay, now I'm going to try disassociating. That didn't work. They didn't stop. Well, now I'm going to try people. Can I make you dinner? Can I make you tea? How can I help you? What would make you feel better? That didn't stop them from being crazy. I'm going to stand up for myself and I'm going to, you know, put you in your place. Well, that didn't work because a narcissist is meaner than you. You know, they don't have the same values.
I had a girlfriend say to me, you cannot play the game that he's playing. And I said, why did you say that? And she goes, because he's a master at it. And it's not even who you are. Yes.
That's very well said. You know, a narcissist has been spending they've spent their whole life mastering the ability to manipulate and push buttons and protect themselves. So of all the reactions we usually go into in our fight or flight, there's one that we don't consider, which is to take care of ourselves.
Such a novel concept, isn't it?
It's such a novel concept. You know, we're all about how do I control you? How do I stop you from hurting me?
Yeah.
How do I make you, you know, be a good person? How do I make you stay calm? And in reality, when we are calm, when we are healed, the people around us become calm and start to heal.
Totally. Right. And that's what I mean by like, who's the person who's going to take the first, I'll say the next right step. You know, I knew I needed to just, so for me, when I was in my trauma patterns that.
And what did that look like for you? What are your trauma patterns?
Well, if I was biting back at you, I was probably right in my trauma pattern, you know, because I have a ferocious response when my nervous system is not regulated. And I remember the day that I decided something's got to change and something's got to shift, because me doing it all the other ways, like you talked about.
Yeah, you try everything.
People pleasing, disassociating. When I tried all those things, I remember this one day I hit this place of rage, like complete rage. I could not stop that level of rage coming out of my body, because we have to remember that there's sadness is the first level. That turns into anger, the more intense version of sadness. Then it goes to rage. So I had
Yes.
tipped into rage, and it was after my fourth child was born. I had zero tolerance for the things that were going on. That was his trauma and my trauma going at each other, is pretty
Yeah.
much what it boiled down to, that I now can look back and see. And no fault to anybody. Like, it was our childhoods, and it was trauma versus trauma. And
Yes.
so though that layering just put me into this place of rage. And I remember saying in this bout of rage, why do I have to get to this level for it to be heard what I'm trying to communicate? And and it wasn't by any means said that nicely.
No. Yeah.
And then
Sure,
and
there's
I
a lot of
looked,
expletives.
yeah, and I looked and I saw the look on my daughter's face,
Oh.
and I said, I'm never going to that rage ever again, ever again.
And that's what happens. Our kids pull us back. You know, I don't have kids, but for most of the women that I work with, the tipping point is when they start to realize my kids are going to be damaged if I keep teaching them this is how you handle conflict.
Right. So then I started removing myself, right? So then when it would get to that place, I would just remove myself. But then that didn't work, because then I was followed.
Oh yeah.
Wait,
relentlessly.
It's like, you're not going to play this patterning with me anymore?
And calling and
oh yeah. And then so it takes people to get out of the patterning is not necessarily always easy, and it certainly takes a lot of courage.
Yeah.
You know, but it's about, I just kept holding the vision of, I want the highest and best for me, my ex-husband, and my children. I want all of us to thrive and to have amazing lives, because guess what? We will all be happier for that.
Yes.
And we all will be. It was funny. Like, I even watched myself this week. I knew he had an exam for the career that he wants to start post-marriage, and he was supposed to run the kids and bring him to me. And I was like, hey, can I help you out and just come get him? Because I know you're under a pressure cooker. If you would have asked me a month ago if I would have done that, not a chance. But you know what?
I'm so proud of you. Nice job. Nice job.
But it's all about all of us thriving.
Yes.
It's like, there's the acceptance piece that it didn't work. So I don't have hardly any people in my family that are divorced. Everyone's in all of their patterning.
Oh yeah. My parents have been married for 50 some years. Everybody. Yeah. Thick and thin.
Yeah. and so uncharted turf, and so I've also known that I'm also the pioneer in many aspects. And if those of you who are watching, if you feel like you're the pioneer, like the first friend to do the stuff, or the first, because remember, you've surrounded yourself around people who interface in the world similar to you.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you start,
and they'll tell you what you want to hear. You're right. He is a jerk. You're right. You need to put him in his place.
It's kind of like searching something on the internet about politics. You can find any article to defend anything that you want to say at that moment.
Same thing about medicine. You really, if you've got a discovery, you can find something to support it.
Right. And then so it's like, this is the mind crap that we do with each other, right?
Yeah.
It's what we do back and forth. And to me, it's like, I've just kept holding the energy for miracles to show up.
Yes.
And there were some days that it was easier than others.
Yes.
And miracles are now showing up. It's beautiful.
Well, we were talking about this before, about compounding interest. I've been thinking about that a lot, where it takes a little bit for all the things we're doing to add up. Yep. But once they start working together, once we have enough of a focus, then it ramps up really fast. And what happens is most people, they will give up. They'll try something and give up, and try something and give up. But the key is layering. It's not about, well, I tried the tea, it didn't work, so I'm not going to drink the tea anymore. No, it's about drinking the tea and smelling the essential oils and getting a coach and hiring a bookkeeper. And I mean, it's about creating a multi-dimensional life that works for you, not looking for a solution that will fix the 10,000 problems you've been ignoring for the last, 30 years.
Yep. Yep. That's true. It's so true. And it's about what's your compelling reason for change? Your
Yeah.
compelling reason for change is wanting a new reality,
Yes.
wanting something that is bigger and better than what you currently have.
Right.
And that
Right.
to me is it all.
Yeah.
You know?
And for many women, it's when they pause long enough to say, I am creating generational trauma by continuing to live this way.
Right.
And in 10 years, I'm going to have a daughter-in-law who shows up to Christmas and blows it up every time. You know what I mean?
I have those clients that are exactly that, where they finally started to address their stuff, but now they're watching their children actually repeat the patterns that they lived, that they didn't wait. They didn't address it until, because they thought, I'm going to stay in the marriage for the kids. And when the kids are raised, then I'm going to leave. But what we don't understand in that decision-making process, that you're choosing for it to go to the next generation.
Yes.
And
Yep.
the universe, God, whatever you want to reference, I think it's all the same thing and it's semantics. But I was sitting there and I got a new referral to somebody, and she came in and we started talking about that. She had 4 kids, I had 4 kids. And I was like, and she came to me from a divorce lawyer. And I said to her, so how do you feel? You're right here at the tail end. Because I'm brought in on the tail end as you're splitting assets. I'm going to help her now build her life from this point forward. And I said to her, I go, so how do you feel? And she just put her head down. I just wish I would have did it when my 4 kids were younger.
Yeah.
The day before, no joke, the day before, I had filed for my own divorce when my kids were 2, 4, 6, 8 years old. And my 4 kids were younger, which was her regret not doing it younger. So we have to understand that along the way, we are given signs that we are actually on the right path, even though, did I want to have a divorce with a 2, 4, 6, and an 8-year-old? That was never part of my life plan, ever. But I knew I didn't want patterns to repeat themselves.
Right.
And I actually know that that's also true for my ex-husband. He had always set the intention, I don't ever want my children to grow up with what it is that I grew up with.
Yes.
And it's interesting. So you say these things, but you really, when it comes to reality and then actually shifting it and making it happen, we don't actually know what that really is going to show up in and what kind of package.
Right. And I help women when they're wondering, should I get a divorce? Shouldn't I get a divorce? And what happens is they work with me to get some clarity, to get their nervous system regulated, to connect in with a higher version of themselves so that they can decide, do I want to stay? Is it worth it? Do I want to save this relationship? Or have I been in it for 30, 40 years and it's time to go?
Yeah.
And one of the major points I make is your kids' brains stop developing at age 28. So, for the most part, the majority of it.
Yep.
So it's a lot harder to parent someone when they're 36 than when they're 26 or when they're 16 or when they're 6. So if you're trying to go back and now your child's getting a divorce and then help them through that, it's so much harder. It wastes so much time instead of starting to deal with these things when they're young, so that you are imprinting them with healthy life skills so they can create the next evolution of your family.
Well, and to me, I always tell the kids, I'm like, guys, there's no right or wrong answer.
Mm-hmm.
This is about, you get to see what mom's doing, what dad's doing, what your teachers are doing, what your friends are doing, what your aunts and uncles are doing, and then you choose your own life, so that we're not layering more of that shame that you're following the other parent or you're following a different path. Why is it that we all so often in society, it shows up in a package that because we choose different means that we're shaming them for being different? Like, I really don't understand why we can't just honor. I'm going to honor the greatness in you, just like I want you to honor the greatness in me. And I know not everybody, I know, I get people will say that that's Pollyannish and like, oh, Jewel, you're living in a bubble. But I'm saying that, gosh, if we can come from this place. I remember Deepak Chopra saying, he said, you know, if we actually in our educational system actually had kids only amplify what their deepest strengths are and just let them know that they can reach out to other people for what their weaknesses are, that they can fill those voids for them. Could you imagine how much more we would excel in this world? But we're told that you suck at math, so you have to take math tutoring. As opposed to going, okay, well, this is where you're at with math. So let's just put you on this math track and let's really amplify you over here. Like, we think that the whole thing needs to go up at once. And I don't disagree with that. You know, it's like, really focus on people's strengths and just go and know that we can trust our inner knowings. Even a child, you know, like sometimes we adults need to realize that those who are younger than us are an upgraded version of technology, human technology.
Oh yeah, we are the latest technological version of our family line. So we know more, we're more evolved, we're more in tune than anyone else that came before us. You know, things have changed. It's not the same.
It's really interesting. And when we do that, when we have that acceptance piece, then we don't add the layers of shame and blame and guilt. Like, those don't even come into the equation when you focus on the right stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
And make it a conscious choice.
Yes. Well, your conscious mind really only has so many receptors. Here's a neat thing about massage and body work. We do pleasurable things at the same time we need to do something that's painful. That's because the body's designed for pleasure to travel to the brain faster than pain. The nerves for pleasure are actually slipperier. They've got more myelin on them. So the message travels faster to the brain than pain does. So if you're going to do something that's uncomfortable or difficult, you need to surround yourself with things that make you feel good. Because there's only so many receptors in your brain. And if you fill it up with pleasure, if you fill it up with healthy thoughts and healthy community and healthy ideas, then there's no room for all the anger and the hurt and the negativity that, let's say, your ex wanted to put on you. You know, there just isn't even space. So what happened when you held that line? You know, you've had some great changes in your life lately. What's happened since you held the line of love and peace and compassion?
Well, I will say initially, the holding the line was coming with resistance in the fact of, no, go back to this patterning because this is where I know how to interface with you, right? That's what initially happens. But then I started, so I was doing it myself and holding the line, but then I started to verbalize it to my kids going, no, just hold love and compassion, guys. And then it turned into, I would hear the kids talking to their dad and I'm like, hey, you guys, is that giving love and compassion, but saying it with him present? And so then it gave him the opportunity to join into that conversation, which that's eventually what started to morph and happen. But it first started with me. Then I was inclusive with the kids. Then it was inclusive with him, so that the collective, and I actually can't take full, I have to give my boyfriend credit here because he for a year and a half has been saying, I'm telling you, Jewel, you just have to give him more love and compassion. I was like, yeah.
Right. Well, he doesn't deserve it. And can you know all the stuff that he did to me? Do you know all the stuff you're doing every month?
Yeah, you're not writing the checks every month, and you're not.
Right. Easy to say.
He was absolutely right. So, and I knew on some level, I knew that there was truth in that. Right. So, and if I really went down deep in my heart, my whole thing was that I was afraid to get duped again. Right. I was afraid to like go, okay, here I go again. I'm trying again. But as I started to do that, then that's when the miracles started to show up, because then it was me saying, I'm holding a safe space. Then it was one of my kids actually then started to hold a safer space than the other three. And then 2 of them did. And then 3 of them did. And then You know, and then even when I wasn't holding a safe space one day, it was really funny. One of my daughters goes, "Hey, mom, didn't you say love and compassion?" And there was part of me that was just like, smart ass, you know, but then
Right.
the other part of me was just like, and I said this to her, I go, "You are absolutely right. Thank you for the reminder. I am grateful for that." And so then so it's like this amoeba that is growing and morphing into this really healthy space. And and so what started happening was more collaboration started happening, more getting the other person's opinion without like being defensive about it. Um, and really, you really told me that the biggest form of love that I could give was hold super, super strong boundaries. And that's what I did. But that's what I didn't do my entire marriage. And in other relationships, whether it's siblings or family, you know, that's another one that my boyfriend would just giggle at. He would just be like, "Oh yeah, Julie just likes to be an ostrich and stick her head in the sand." And that's what my mother does. My mother was just like, "Oh, it'll be fine." And it's just like, but there's a layer of negotiating yourself away when you say that. So it was like, yes, understand that it will be fine because there's a spiritual concept there, but know that that being fine has to come with extreme self-love and self-care and holding healthy boundaries. And that's the part through the years that not only myself, but I've watched so many women negotiate away. And it's time for us to really step into our divine power. You know, if you talk to a lot of people in the holistic world, you know, they say that we're moving from third dimension to fourth to fifth. And one of my teachers says that going from the third to the fourth is the rise, the divine feminine. So it's all of us women stepping into the power of being female. So like I became male to be in finance. And every woman I know that's grown a career in finance on some level has become butch on some level. We took on the masculine side and yeah. And even having the physical stature that I have more weight to stand in those crowds with the guys.
So you put on what you thought was the masculine side, what you thought was masculine, when in reality, yeah, it was just your crazy interpretation from the romance novels and the Cosby Show that made you think that, you know, this is what love looks like, you know, or this is what being a man looks like. We're not men.
No,
I mean, yes, we have a masculine side, but it's not at all what we think we're supposed to become in order to compete with men. It's actually it's the tough love. It's the father, the masculine kind of love versus the unconditional everything's fine, which is more the mother love.
Right. Yeah. And moving from fourth to fifth dimension is really the integration between the masculine and feminine, which to me is a good representation of that is the figure eight. You know, so when we get to that place, all that shame and all that guilt and all that judgment is removed. Like when we get to that place, because we're honoring the flow. We're honoring ourselves and others regardless, because honestly, guys, we need to take the past and just keep it in the past.
Yes.
Because there is zero we can do about it.
Yes.
It's about what do we do in this present moment, which that then creates the future that we desire.
Yes. Yes.
And that's true for in your relationships, in your money world, your spirit, your health, all the above, your work life included, you know?
Yes. Yes.
So Rita, how do people get a hold of you?
If they are looking for me, then they can go to 𝑅itaHickmanCoaching.com. And I help women get the confidence and the courage to divorce a narcissist and create healthier, better relationships. So if women are in that layer of tension, you know, where they don't know if they want to stay or go, then I can help them find clarity. And if they're having physical conditions because of it, I can help them reverse the physical conditions, you know, all sorts of things, because we're teaching them how to love themselves and respect themselves. And that's what makes the body heal. So I do live streams 5 days a week on Facebook, sometimes 2-3 times a day. And we've got a challenge coming up between Thanksgiving and Christmas, a 7-day challenge where every woman is invited to come and listen to world-class speakers, including Julie, on different parts of their life, on body, emotions, relationships, mind, ideas, environment. And then the neat piece is we're going to integrate every night. So every night we're going to take whatever we learned during the day, and we're physically going to drop the beliefs and the emotions that keep us in the, oh no, I can't do this. Get those out of the way.
Yep.
We integrate the information into our brain. We create new ideas and new insights. And then we take action, because action is the masculine energy. That's masculine, is taking action. And so it all kind of comes together. We do the feminine, we do the masculine, and for 7 days, can you imagine having a beautiful healing ritual? It's like an incubator. It's like a little baby chick coming out of an egg.
And to me, it's about creating a community that actually is supportive to get you to the life that you really, truly desire, and into those relationships that really, truly feed your heart and soul, and aren't in your suffering patterns any longer.
Yes. You have to deliberately make the choice.
Yep. Absolutely.
Cool.
Well, thanks again for another great week, Rita. And
thanks, Julie.
Next week, I'm actually in Costa Rica. So,
wow.
Yeah. So next week we'll do one of our replays, if that works. And then, we'll reconvene 2 weeks from now.
Excellent. And I'm so excited to hear about your trip to Costa Rica.
It should be good. I'm going to go work with the shamans down there.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And you're welcome to, at any time, send me a text or an email if you need any support through that. I'm happy to give my insights.
Thank you so much. All right, everybody. Have a great
Love
week.
you.
Take
Bye,
care.
guys.
Love you too. Bye.